I wanted to give my first impressions of a new series that has landed on Sky One in the UK called Curfew. This is a series set in a dystopian future in the UK where there's a curfew every evening because a virus has swept through the planet, turning people into some sort of monster. You only get a brief look at the monsters in the first episode, but they're sort of naked, deformed creatures, the humanoid creatures. I'm sure we'll get a better look at them as the series goes along. Every year there is a illegal, well, I'm going to say semi-illegal because it seems to be everyone knows about it but no one does anything about it, street race where the winners get to go to an island called Sanctuary where there is no disease and everyone's happy and living a lovely life. As if Sanctuary really exists. I mean, I'm sure we'll find out it's some sort of con. This is a series that was quite heavily advertised, and unfortunately for it sort of ruins itself within the first 5 minutes. There's a car chase where a guy's in a sports car burning around the streets of London, and it's all very well done. You can see there's real practical driving going on, and then it cuts to a scene from a sort of drone shot, as it were, and this car does a sort of on-the-spot U-turn, and it's the most awful CGI you've ever seen. I was watching it with my wife and she shouted out and went, "Oh my god, that's terrible." I said it's terrible. When I talked to my friend later in the day, he'd seen it and he said, "Oh, it was shocking." But it really takes you out of it. They've obviously got stunt drivers, and those stunt drivers are obviously really skilled because they're bombing around London, missing lampposts and bollards. So why not just get them to do the actual driving manoeuvre in the car? Doesn't matter if it's not quite as extreme, but it's 10 times better if you know it's real as opposed to this awful computer game looking CGI. So that takes you out of it to start with. As far as the act, you've got two of the guys from Hustle, well, at least for the first episode, one of them meets a sticky end towards the end of the episode. And you've got Sean Bean, who is a moody mechanic, and he is involved with some of the racers, getting them cars, and then also entering the race in a souped up looking car with his, what I'm guessing is a teenage bride, with this big baby bump. But he's good. He plays this real seedy, horrible character, and he's quite enjoyable and fun to watch in it, so he's doing really well. You've also got the other sort of semi-main character who is this ambulance driver. She used to work at a research compound where they're studying cures for this virus and trying to help people walk, and for some reason it all goes to pot and her mother, who is one of the head scientists there, gets infected. This is told in flashbacks, by the way, so I'm sure over the course of the series we will get a better explanation as to what goes wrong at this compound in order to cause all these problems to occur. But in the present day, she's an ambulance driver and she drives around in this ambulance that's got all this sort of sheeting and armour on it. Another point to raise is that ambulance, with all that armour on it and guarding, if you painted it black and put some more spotlights on it, that will be the Punisher's battle van. And that's all they had to do in the Punisher series. Give him that kind of vehicle, paint it black, battle van, but they couldn't do that. But this ambulance looks cool. She gets drawn into the race through her sister and a person that she used to be involved with, obviously some sort of love triangle, coming to her door. They're fugitives, they want to enter the race to get to Sanctuary and avoid the authorities, and she gets drawn into it. That's about as far as you get in the first episode. There is a plot with a family that's also entering in their estate car loaded up with kit to try and win this street race, but I don't think they're going to stand much of a chance. It's set in this sort of dystopian future where there's a sort of real nanny state. It reminds you of lots of other things that you've seen. There's a sort of 80s vibe to the way it's shot and filmed. It's obviously fashionable at the moment. Good music. I like the music on it, the soundtrack and the sort of synthy sounds. Will it be any good? I don't know. Don't take it seriously. That's the important thing. It's a series that knows how silly it is, and as long as it keeps on that sort of silly, action-packed route, it'll be fine. If it tries to get too serious or try and be too preachy, then it will start to fall apart. It's got to keep like the silly quota up. Also, there's Billy Zane and can't think who else. Some other people you'll recognise in it, but they only show up for the briefest of shots at the end as other racers. There's no real racing in the first episode. It is all set up. So if you haven't seen it yet, you may well be better served, say, recording it or saving it on catch up, and then watching it in conjunction with the second episode, which I'm sure, well, has to because of the way the plot ends, have a bit of racing and action in it, and I'm sure you get introduced to the remainder of the characters. Is it worth watching? Yes, but you've really got to like stupid things where you don't have to have a rational explanation for lots of stuff, and you just got to sort of go with it. A bit like Ultimate Force when it was on. You've just got to accept this for silly, off-the-wall telly that caters to a certain kind of audience, teenage boy audience, which is probably where my mind still is. So yeah, Curfew. Worth watching a few more episodes to see if it gets any better, but I wouldn't make it appointment television.